Shalom Rastafari, Assalamu Alaikum, peace to the kings and the queens of the earth. How's everybody doing on this Friday? I hope everyone had a great week. I hope you went through everything you went through and got through it and crushed it, and you're alive, you're healthy, you're well. Everyone here on the sound of my voice, just know that, sometimes you wake up and you feel great, and you might have some negative thoughts about some people who maybe just hating on you or doing whatever. Just know that if they don't affect anything. They don't affect the way you eat. They don't affect the bills that you pay. They don't affect the money that you make. If they don't affect the people that are in your life on a certain level, then fuck them and let them go. It's Friday, the sun's out, and life is too short. Today, I don't know, might be, I don't know. Like I said, y'all know me. I continue to put the content out, and I feel that there's just a need for positivity and just knowledge and awakening and just, awakening and spirituality and progression. There's still a lane for that, as much as I might not be I'm probably going to get a lot of YouTube views if I do a fucking controversial type of podcast, or if I start calling out names, if I really make it, start really going and listing off some of the stories and shit that I've been through even in the past 3 years. I can do that. And you guys, it'd be a serious story. But I continue to just try to give mental food to everybody, really try to just literally stay progressive. I feel like there's just so much negative content out there, and it looks like, I think that we've all kind of got hooked on the negative content, but people like me really don't like that shit. As far as just trolling or just doing something for likes. So today, like I said, just to go forward, I hope you're listening. But as far as a book that I just finished, I finished actually 2 books, and I'm going to get to the next one next Friday. And if y'all know me, I'm still on my book journey. Last year, I read 12 books. This year, I'm up to about 4. So I have the rest of the year, obviously, and some of the books are longer than others, right? So I might not get to finish as many books as I wanted to, but I like to read them thoroughly, and I like to just educate myself. And one of my passions is Black history. I love my people. I love knowing history, and I feel like I'm relearning a lot because of what was not told to me when I was in high school or when I was in elementary school. The school systems back then. This is why I have a certain opinion about how the things are going now and during the school system, the passion that is pushed. I have a feeling about it, whether you go into whether you think it's right or wrong. What I have the angle of is when it comes to Black history, when it comes to indigenous history, none of this stuff was pushed like some other agenda that has been being pushed. As a matter of fact, they take it out because they don't want to, quote unquote, make people uncomfortable. When in turn, what they're doing is forcing people to be, they're forcing people to get comfortable with specific sayings or how you identify people, how you treat people, how you treat yourself. When in turn, when it came to Black history, they took it out because it made people uncomfortable. So you can see where my passion and how I kind of have a side eye to what's going on right now in society. But I do want to recommend, that's probably on the screen right now, is an amazing book. And shout out to my friends and family who supported, and shout out to the friend who gave me this book. I really appreciate you more than you know. I'm not going to embarrass you, but this is called The 400 Souls. And it's edited by Ibram Kendi. And then also it's like a combination of Keisha Blain. So Ibram Kendi and Keisha Blain. It's like a collaborative series, and basically it's called The 400 Souls. It's a New York Times bestseller. I just finished it as of Wednesday. It took me about maybe 2 months, 3 months, but I just read a chapter a day, and it is basically a community history of the African American experience between 1619 and 2019, and literally it's just 2 or 3 pages per chapter. It goes up to different parts. And literally, I think it's about, I want to say is it 60 chapters? But it's 7 parts, but it's basically something you could sit down and get fed some serious Black history with taking about 5 minutes out of your time a day. And it marks it down, not just the history of it, just like a marking down of history, but what it does is it takes specific events and then takes specific people out of those specific events and highlights that, right? So it's not just going to slavery. It goes into the very, very first slaves that entered into the Central America situation, whatever it was called, in 1619, when it was about seven of us, and the first slaves were on Virginia, the Virginia township at that time. So it tells you the experiences. It tells you experiences of specific females who were involved in specific things, but there were other people who were involved, right? So if you talked about Harriet Tubman, there's other people who might have helped her that they talk about. If you talk about one of the nice ones that I liked was, or kind of a sad story, it's people don't really understand that black people could not vote until 1965. I'll say that one more time. We could not vote until 1965, especially in some areas. And then when we voted, there was a story about a man who walked. Okay, he walked 5 miles. All right, which in Canada, y'all know that's literally almost. 5 miles is pretty much almost 10 to 12, maybe 13 kilometers. Okay, he walked there. He finally got to that place. They told him he couldn't vote. He had to go somewhere else. They sent him another 6 miles to the other place to vote. Once he got there, they told him he couldn't vote either, and he walked back home 11 miles without voting. And then by the time the 4 years passed by and it was time to vote again, he had passed away. So there are specific stories about this in every single event from 1619 to 2019, from police shootings to specific events that happen, and not just atrocities, but also overcoming things. And like I said, I'm only getting too much to detail of it because I would love everyone to read it. There's times where I just kind of I'm doing these podcasts lately, and I just reach out to anybody who's listening. And if it has one person or one recommendation of a person who might want to check it out, that's cool with me too. Because at this point, I'm doing it for my life. I'm doing it for Jah, the Most High, the Creator, and I'm doing it for people that one person who might need, or the one person who's listening to me who literally might just like, yo, I'm gonna get that book. It's one of the books that, I'm starting to understand that Ibram Kendi is a beast. He really is. But this book is awesome. This book actually, again, was recommended by the Oprah magazine, the Washington Post. These are just some things in the back. But when I really, really finished it, and I love how it is laid out. I love the literature. It's not too hard to understand, obviously, but it's also educational. And it's one of those books, again, I'm a person who's going to read books and then read it again. I'm already on another book from Ibram Kendi already. That looks like it's going to take me it's a big, pretty thick book. And it might take me long. So that's fine. But I am ecstatic about adding books to my library. That has become one of my things in the past, let's say 2 or 3 years. Really, it started off, when did my book journey really start? It started off kind of like in Coburg, right? Right when I went through all that stuff, and I had to get to an area where I was pretty much by myself a lot, right? I was in my room. I had 2 roommates. They were married, right? And they're just doing their own thing 95% of the time, which allowed me to really get into the book situation. It started off with just, of course, I wanted to get into some Black history. I always wanted to. The way the plane was happening, the way things were happening. And also I got started off with reading a couple indigenous books also, but it really started off with like indigenous books, some Black history, and some self-help. And lately I've been really on my Black history. I just finished an indigenous book as well. And those are the things that I like to keep in my library is Black history, indigenous history, self-help. And I'm kind of excited because I'm starting to understand that like I am kind of a reader and I do like to read shit. So I think that I'm also going to be adding to that repertoire or that library, maybe some, 40 laws of power, or some mental stuff, more mental stuff, some financial stuff also. Just things that just try to better yourself. History for sure, because again, they are trying to eliminate it. So anything they've tried to eliminate our history, our Black history, from the very get go. All right, I mean, they go to the pyramids and they blow off the nose of the Sphinx because it's a nice wide black nose, and they know people didn't want to try to hide the truth, right? So they've been doing this to us before even 1619, before even the very first slave has entered into this land. So I am ecstatic. I'm going to tag Ibram Kendi on this. Again, I don't want to go into too much detail about it because I want people to learn. That's Rastafari, right? Like, we kind of lead you to the water, but you're going to have to figure out how to drink it yourself. And if you are, I just love books like this because it spits reality. There's no opinion. This is all fact based. And when you arm yourself with this information, there's not much that people can tell you. And so these are those books that I'd like to pass down to the next generation also, to make sure that they're on it, to make sure that they know, and to listen to our ancestors, right? Like, this is how they speak, by the form of Ibram Kendi and Keisha Blain and other authors who will go out there and put the work in, because this is an amazing project that is my first book. And when I did my research about Ibram Kendi, especially, and Keisha Blain, this is just a beginning, right? Ibram X Kendi, to be honest with you, that's he puts the X there too, so you know what kind of flow he's on. Yeah, I can't speak more of it. And I mean, not everybody who's listening to me is a book reader. I get that. You probably not even listening to this right now, but if you are, get into it. It's something that you can literally just have a cup of tea, read a couple chapters, or like I do, I read from 4 different books. So I just picked this thing up every day, and I was kind of sad when I got to the end. I was happy, but I was sad. It was one of those bittersweet books. So I will tag Ibram Kendi, and if you're listening, I don't know if you're the author of this, and Keisha Blain and everybody else who helped with this project, from a Black man, from a Black American out of little old Buffalo, New York, I appreciate you more than you know. These are things that I was not taught. Some of the stuff, sometimes some of the stuff, it was kind of, sugar-coated or kind of just glazed over. I needed the detail, I needed the real, not the stories, the real facts with the stories. I needed to really know. This is food that you cannot replace. And I really appreciate that from the soul. So if anyone has any, like I said, I have books that you can recommend, but if you really want that black experience and that Black liberation and that history, these are those books that you need. And I do plan on having a nice little library of books, and I will continue. I might have a whole room full of books by the end of this life journey, and I would love to pass those books on to some next generation of people, so they can know these are those weapons, those mental weapons that they try to take away from us, that they cannot. Right? Once you get this in your hand and get this in your head, they cannot take it away from you. Much love to everybody. Thank you for listening. Have a great weekend.